I'm Claudia, and welcome back to the Cloudy Desk. I guess really by welcome back, I mean I'm back, because it's been almost a year since I made my last video, but I've been feeling the itch to get back into things, and I had a lot of stuff I wanted to share with you. Specifically today, we're going to be looking at we're going to be exploring sort of thinking about my art goals for this year, because that's something that I'm really wanting to get back into in like a very meaningful way. And when I was I don't set resolutions, I set goals for myself, because I don't think January 1st is really the time that I'm just going to be changing everything about me. Instead, I sort of use it as a time of like, well, what is it that I want to be doing and how do I get closer to it? And I've missed making art. I used to make art really regularly. I used to make comics, and when I went back to grad school, I was in grad school part-time, working full-time. I just didn't have time to do that, and so a lot of that art making sort of fell by the wayside. And for a while, journaling kind of scratched that itch for me, but now that I'm out of grad school, I'm got a job, I'm just sort of doing that. I have more time and more mental energy to get back into doing some of these things, and I felt the need and the want starting to come back. So let's flip down, look at my desk, and I can show you some of the things I'm working on, some of the things I'm thinking about, and start to like see how this is going and how I want it to go. And then maybe later in the year we can do a check-in and seeing how it continues to go. So let's boop boop. So now we're here, got all the things. First, before we talk about this year, I sort of want to set the stage a little bit and sort of, I guess, a little more context as to sort of the why for some of these things. This is my notebook from, I think it's 2015, and this is how I first got into journaling. It's quite beat up because it was in my bag, and I sort of took this everywhere, and I use this both as a notebook to go through ideas and also as a sketchbook. And this is my first journal that I maintained. And now it wasn't every day, and sometimes it was writing, sometimes it was sketching, sometimes project planning, but this is how I first started doing all this. So for me, drawing and journaling have always been extremely intertwined, and I just think that'll help set some of the context for a lot of this work, because at some point last year I was realizing I was really missing drawing. I think about June, and I had considered getting the second half of the year Hobonichi Avec just to, let's move that off, just to use for that sort of, July through December, but I didn't want to have to wait, and I also didn't know if I would do it every day, so I didn't want to use something dated. So instead I got a Hobonichi A6 gridded notebook. This is just the back. And I decided to use this to start doing, I sort of considered it an art journal, and I kind of drew little moments from the day. I didn't really give it any rules. I started with platinum carbon black, but I didn't like how shiny it is. It made it feel less black, so I kind of played with different inks and different pens, and finally settled on a combination that I'll talk about in a second, because it's what I'm still using. But yeah, I just used this as a moment to sort of reflect on my day, and for me, this actually very rarely overlaps with the stuff that I write about in my long form journal, because this is more like, what's one visual that I remember from the day, whereas my long form is like, what's on my brain, what am I thinking about, what happened. And this can be sometimes kind of silly, sometimes just like a literal sketch. I really like doing more text, playing with different, not fonts, but different sort of writing styles. Sometimes I draw like my book, whatever, but I was doing this every day and it just felt super good and I wanted to keep going. So I said goodbye because we reached the end of the year. So to start with, my main art goal for the year was to keep that practice going. So I have Hobonichi Techo original. This is the Japanese version. And my main thing with this is to, in fact, keep drawing my day. I am using the other parts of the notebook for some other things, like I'm using the monthly index pages to track what books I'm reading and sort of what formats I'm using. I used the December 2024 page to make a list of some of these goals that I would like to do. And some of them are like big things. I'm just trying to find, I don't know, somewhere I want to paint once a week. But then also some of the things are kind of silly, like I want to get a pressed penny, which I've actually already done, but I collect pressed pennies, so I'm sure there'll be more. And I'm kind of using the monthly, I at first was doing like a stamp a day. I'll see if I keep that up, but I'm really using it to track some of those goals, because some of them are sort of like do certain things once a month, and I want to track when I did it just to show. So for example, this stamp is for my niece and I want to see her once a month, so I can sort of very quickly show you when I did that. This notebook stamp is when I paint, so I can very quickly see that I'm painting once a week. Things like that. But yeah, the main thing though is to draw every day. And sort of my other goal, which I kind of mentioned briefly, is I want to draw more outside of this. In this book, I just use this one pen, which is my Sailor Yoseka collaboration Pro Gear that I have in fine. And I keep it sort of permanently inked up with the Sketch ink Lottie, the black one. And I just do that. I do not worry about color. I do not worry about anything else in here. But I found as I'm drawing more regularly, like every night, this isn't something I do as like a back journal where if I skip nights, I'll go back. I don't ever want to do more than the day before in a single session. But if I'm drawing more, I'm finding it's easier, and I want to, and I make time for sketching more in general. So this practice, starting this last year and continuing it, has really opened the door for me to be drawing more in general, which is why I started this notebook. So I live in New York City, and I am kind of committing to drawing or painting my neighborhood once a week. I got this idea of sort of seeing how my neighborhood changes over the course of the year in terms of what colors I'm using, what things am I noticing more, stuff like that. It doesn't just have to be my neighborhood, but it's New York City specifically. So, for example, there's going to be a week later in the year where I go on vacation. I'm not going to use this notebook for that. This is specifically a home notebook. And it's been really fun. So I'm using the MD Square. I skipped this page because it's very annoying. Let me just move these. I'm using the MD Square A5 notebook. A little schmutz. Which is with the standard MD paper, I believe. It's not the thick and it's not the cotton. And it holds, I found, both ink and paint really nicely, like you really can't see through. And so this was using some gouache, this was using watercolor, this was just using pen and ink. This was the first week. I did some more the second week, third. And what I'm really liking about this is I can, like I said, sort of really use both sides. This notebook, I believe, I have enough spreads to do a full 49 weeks, which is not quite a year, but there will be weeks I know that I don't do a full spread each week, or if I'm busy, maybe I only do one, or if I'm traveling, I don't do it at all. So I think this will be a good size for me. And so far, at least, I haven't done any of the drawing on location. I just sort of, when I get home, use photos I took throughout the day, which is actually fun because I often take pictures while I'm going out and about, but I don't always look back at them. And so this has been a fun way to like come home, look at them, and pick a picture and decide what I find interesting about the picture to recreate. And so this is a tree that I see every day, and it was snowy, and I kind of wanted to capture. The tree sort of grows, if this is a sidewalk like this, so as you walk under it, it's like very intimate. I also cut down an A5 Hobonichi pencil board just so I can protect a page. So, for example, if I'm drawing or painting here, I can put this down and I know I won't start to muck up that page at all. And the thing that has made this super easy and like fun to maintain is I've sort of built this art box. This is, I believe, the Toyo, I think it's 192. It's the sort of shallower box that opens vertically and not this way, longwise. And I'm using this to carry sort of all of my art stuff. And so even though I'm not really drawing or painting on location, I do a lot of this like on the couch or in weird places in my apartment, and I know I can just kind of grab this and I have everything I need. So for example, I have a little straight edge, so I can, in the beginning I didn't do it so much, but I'm trying to get better at like drawing real boxes to draw within. I have two art toolkit palettes. I have, this one is Eric Small Things, Cute Things from Japan collaboration, and I have a little watercolor setup, so it's mostly a split primary palette within a couple sort of secondary / shades that I thought would be fun to have. And then this is the main palette I use. It's the Traveler's pocket palette that I keep my gouache set in. I think I'll do a second video on this set specifically because I've been using this a lot and I have a lot of thoughts about what's ended up in here and sort of how it's going for me. But I keep sort of on the lid a piece of paper that's magneted on, and these are the colors that I carry in both of these palettes. So I have like a little guide. What is nice is this, you can sort of see it stays open, it doesn't like fall all the way back. So if I do want to, I can keep, I actually do have some paper in here, I can magnet a piece of paper here, and then I could use this sort of as an easel, so when I'm out I could sketch as well. And that's sort of what I designed this for specifically. In addition, I've been using this water brush. It's not one of the ones that stores water in a reservoir. You have to like fill it up each time and then put the lid on, but I like the point on this more than the, what is it, the Pentel aqua brushes, wash, I don't remember what they're called. But I like this one more than the compact one from that line. Just works a little bit better for me. I've also discovered that my preferred pencil for drawing is a 0.2 lead holder. So I got one of these. This is the Oto wooden, I like how it feels, 2 millimeter, not 0.2, 2 millimeter lead holder. So this is my pencil, and I have a little sharpener in case I want to do that. I don't do actually a ton of pencil sketches first. It's mostly like reference points, but if I want to, I have one. I'll get to this in a second. And then I have a little compact mister so I can prepare my palette, just spray a little water. And then I have found I prefer using a little sponge to clean my brush as opposed to having like a paper towel or one of those, what is it, like the Swedish paper towels that are usable. I don't find it always cleans well. They don't always feel super absorbent, but this, it just works better for me, and it's really easy to sort of keep compact, and then when I'm done I can sort of rinse it out and we're good to go. Additionally, I have some tape in case I want to like actually bind off the edges. That's what I did here. I thought it gave it a really nice sort of clean look as opposed to this where it sort of went over. So I want to try to do that more, so I just have some of that like artist soft tape. It's like essentially washi. Another straight edge. I don't need to keep this in here, but this is what I was using before I realized that this fit. I did get a lot of this stuff from St. Louis Art Supply though, so this is not sponsored, but they're really great and they have a really great selection of stuff. Yeah, and then I just have some papers in here that I stuck in. Then the thing that's been super fun to play with is this is my Schoen Designs full-size Ultim pen that, as you can see, I have eyedroppered with this brown permanent ink. It's Diatramentis Sepia Brown, the document ink. So I can watercolor or paint over it, and I know it's sort of going to be fine. But the very exciting thing is I got at the Philly Pen Show last weekend this pen show nib from Kirk Spear at Pen Realm, and I had him grind it to a Waverly point, which is sort of this reverse fude. Let me just show you why this is such a fun, and I'll use one of these. So these are just some sheets of washi paper that I got that are actually really fun to watercolor on, so that's why they're here. So this pen writes both on the normal and on the reverse, and on the normal I have some nice fine strokes, but then if I do the reverse I can get some really, and this is a textured paper, which is why it's coming off a little funny, some really nice line variation depending on how I hold it. This actually, let me get the better paper to show. I don't want you to think that those are issues with the pen. One, it's the paper. So, like I said, this has really nice writing on the normal side, but if I flip it, I can get some really nice line variation depending on how I hold it, which makes it super fun to like do some like blocking in shadows. And then so if this is a tree, it goes sort of like this. And then, yeah, I am kind of just drawing this tree again because it's the one I can think of. It's like, oop, sorry, it does post. I didn't have it fully on there. And then I can go in, and with this side, go in and do some more detail. It's just a really fun pen to draw with. I kind of want to get a second one because I like, obviously, I eyedroppered this. I'm really committed to this ink, but I would like to have this with this nib with a black ink option. So I'm sort of thinking about what pens I'd be willing to do that to, because this is truly a delight to use. Yeah, and so like I was saying, my goal is to do these sort of observational things once or twice a week, so that way like each week is kind of a spread, because I think it's really interesting. So like these are these sort of wintry pictures this was winter before there was snow, and it was like a lot of these browns, and then it became really blue and gray based with little bits of like a very cool yellow coming in. And I'm like curious how this is going to change over the course of the year. Or like right now I'm noticing certain types of structures. Will that change as there's more like foliage and I'm seeing trees more, or like the plantings? I also noticed none of my pictures had people in it, so then I kind of challenged myself to take a few pictures of some people on the street and like do some quick gestural drawings, just to like this is a populated city, I don't have to just keep drawing it sort of empty. So it's like it's really fun to have this sort of ongoing plan, and I'm just gonna, as I talk, put stuff back for this type of project, because then I'm thinking about it where I'm like, okay, so I did this, I know I'll probably want to do another painting on this side, so what are some of the things I've seen this week that would be fun to paint? Or maybe I'm looking as I'm going out, like tomorrow I will be going around the neighborhood a bit, maybe I'll be looking for something fun to paint, sort of like looking for that composition. It's really cool. And again, sort of doing this more and having like all my stuff really set up and easy to grab, I'm also drawing more for fun and painting for fun, and that's like what this sketchbook is for. I know, so many sketchbooks, but I really want this to be a dedicated New York drawing book. But this is just sort of fun ideas. So this is a gouache painting I did. I have an idea for a couple other things that I'm kind of working on. Yeah, and once I get started doing this in the evening, and like maybe I do this on a Monday, and then Wednesday I'm like, oh, well, I don't need to update this, but I kind of want to draw or paint something, I'll grab this sketchbook, or I'll do something else. But like, it's one of those it's one of those habits that like it's easier to do once you're already doing it, which is so frustrating. The hardest thing is getting started, and I really credit this sort of very quick kind of sketchy journal as helping get this started, because now I am reaching for my art supplies so much more, and this is like the space that I'm thinking and playing in. Yeah, so I have some stuff that I want to work on. I have a couple sticker ideas of things I want to make, so keep an eye out. You might see something posted. It's sort of stuff I'm working on in here. I read this incredible book. Let me go grab it. I read this incredible book, Let's Move the Needle, an activism handbook for artists, crafters, creatives, and makers, and it's really thinking about how we can use our hobbies in line with our values and our activism, and use the two together. As you can see, I very much noted it up. I led a book club discussion on this in like a professional group I'm in, and I've been thinking of how I can use my art as part of my activism, and I think that's sort of what those stickers are going to be. I'm going to be making some stuff to help raise money for some organizations I really care about. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I also need to do a little TLC with this palette anyway. I need to do a little cleanup of the mixing pan. I need to refill my white's pretty empty, as is my brown. So I was thinking I could do that maybe in my next video, and I can talk about the colors I've ended up with and sort of why this palette is the way it is, because it started very differently, and I can like sort of go through that. Because I think that'd be fun, because I had a lot of folks ask sort of what I'm using, like what colors I'm using. So yeah, I think I'll do that. I also, for future videos, am sort of knee-deep in some ink samples that I need to start to look at and play with, so I think I'll do a little inky playtime video sometime in the next couple weeks. But in the meantime, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Sorry if this is a little bit rambly. I'm sort of getting back into the swing of recording videos. I don't know what I'm doing. I already recorded 2 videos that won't see the light of day because the light of day because the footage got like corrupted. But yes, this was my 2025 art goals sort of introduction. I want to draw in my art journal every day, and I want to be drawing and painting more regularly just in general, and these are the ways I sort of plan on doing that. I'd love to hear if you have any similar goals for yourself of things you want to be making, things you want to be doing, or if there's certain like materials you find yourself really drawn to right now. For example, I have 10,000 watercolor palettes, but like I only ever want to use my gouache. I love my gouache. I caught the bug, and that is where my heart lies right now. I want to use gouache, and I want to use my fun, I actually don't even think I said the name of the grind. I want to use my fun Concord pen, Concord ground pen. I love this thing. This thing is just like so delightful to me. But what's so delightful to you right now? Let me know in the doopy doops, in the little comments. I will try to remember to put links to things in the description, but if there's anything I didn't link to, just let me know and I will update that. I want to make sure that this is useful for you. So thank you so much for spending a little time with me here today. I hope you have a lovely day, weekend, evening, whatever time you find yourself in. So thank you so much. Bye.